Claudio Ranieri, who led Leicester to their historic Premier League title, has taken over Roma, who are currently sat in 6th in the Serie A table. If you have a look at their current squad, with a 3-2-5 sort of formation going on, it's a pretty decent team, and there's a lot of strong sort of potential in the future. I think we'll stick with that formation for now, and when in defence we'll drop back to a 5 at the back with 3 and a 2. Starting our highlights, there's some good play from the centre-backs who I found quite easy to use in FIFA, as they're quite strong and fast but also good in the ball. I also thought Salamaca was a really great player in the first season. We had him on loan from AC Milan, and of course Dybala played the ball through to Dovbyk very nicely, and he didn't quite get the first finish but got it just after. In the second highlights, I think Mancini took the ball quite well, and Salamaca was driving with it once again. Thought he's a really underrated player in real life. Someone that when I watch on live TV is always sort of putting in good chances. I think it's Cagliari equalised, but Angelino managed to get us back in the fight here as a good ball over the top. Dovbyk won the ball after. Kone put in a good tackle there, and Angelino just drove with it, played it through to Dybala. Who I think was wise enough to know that he probably couldn't beat his man on pace, so he just laid back, chipped over him, dinked it over. Angelino drove with it again and put it top bins nicely. Just after that as well, Dybala had a chance to put the game to bed and make it 3-1, but he managed to mess that up. And in the end, we thought that might cost us, as Cagliari drove with the ball, playing it through nicely. There's some good sort of triangle passing in. We really thought we were done here, but it's a good save from Svilar. And in the end, it was just enough as we won 2-1. In spite of that mistake that Dybala made in the league, we know that he's a player that can really make the difference for us and bring us titles. So we had to make sure that we had to keep him, with the club with us. So we renewed his contract. I think he is someone that we can fork out a bit more money for. I know the wage structure in Roma is quite strict, I'd say. So we didn't pay him too much, but I think he was happy with that. Jumping back into the highlights, we came up against Juventus later in the season. Some good tackle from Mancini there. I think one thing I discovered in this career mode is that there's a lot of good teams that can sort of hold their own against us. There's a lot of strong teams. There's probably 6 or 7 in the league that, at any point could play better than us, even on our best day. And I think that sort of showed here as Juventus put a good chance away from a bad mistake from Svilar, but Dovbyk made up for it straight after, as Angelino whipped the ball in quite nicely, and he just headed into the corner. I found Angelino very easy to use actually in FIFA. He's a very good player, decent in real life as well. Dybala seemed to have the same chance again actually to score, but didn't take it again, which wasn't great to see after that contract renewal. Heading towards May time, so just at the end of the season, we came up against Atalanta, who I would say throughout this career mode were probably our main rivals, it felt like. Maybe alongside Inter Milan, who always felt like they were sort of up against us. I found that with this formation, there was a lot of space sort of to just lob it over the top, and with Dovbyk, he could always win that ball and play some good football on from there. After that selfless ball from Dybala to make up for his previous mistakes, Lookman managed to equalise, and there's some quite close calls there with the corner. We almost conceded straight after again. And I think just here is just where we just couldn't quite handle their pressure quite fast on the counter, and Cuadrado scored. 2-1 down at half-time, we brought on Celik, Kone and Salamaca to bring a bit more pace to handle their fast wingers. But I'm not really sure that it worked in the end because, although in this chance we do have a good sort of run of play, as Angelino lobs it over to Dybala, who whips it all in really nicely. Keepers saved that. It's come back out and we've just stayed patient there. Not rush back into getting it in. Angelino's tried to whip it in again, just got it back. It's all just about keeping the ball. I think in this formation and again, Angelino's always seems to be the threat, and has almost scored there again. If it's not the wide sort of wings, it always feels like Dovbyk's a quite central and focal part of our attack. I think as Dybala actually headed the ball down and he drove through and unfortunately missed. And the error cost us in the end as Cuadrado scored, losing us the game. Looking at the final standings, we ended up in 8th place, which was quite disappointing. Wasn't qualification for any European competition, and Inter Milan had to win the league. Checking the top scorers tally, we did decent. Dovbyk had quite an impressive tally in the end. In terms of assists, I believe it was Dybala had quite a good season as well, and Svilar as well was quite strong in fourth place. I feel as if Roma will struggle when it comes to the summer to replace a lot of the loanees they brought in. I'd say Salamakers was quite crucial in terms of goals and assists in the season, and I think it's something that we had to really watch out for. Heading into season 2, even after the departure of players like Hummels and Salamakers, we seemed that we were still quite a strong side. Had a tidy finish against Chelsea, and I think it was Kudus, I believe he scored after. And our new loanee, who will be introduced soon, looked quite dangerous. This is our starting 11 for the first game, with Hermoso, Lefay and Yankuye from Brighton on loan coming into the squad. Against Atalanta, our sort of career mode rivals in this series, it felt like we sort of faced them again on the opening day. Felt like quite a sort of important statement to win in the first game. And I think we had some good play, considering it was a sort of quite refreshed squad, a lot of new faces. It felt like there was a lot of good chemistry in the side, and a quite slightly more balanced side as well, I could say. A bit more pace in the right places, and I think that showed here, as we had a good team goal. I think it was straight after, though, I'm not sure who scored there, but Atalanta made it 1-1. And Angelino continued to be a big threat for us as he rolled the ball quite nicely, playing it through. And we managed to solidify that lead as Dovbyk made it 3-1 in the end. Just checking through the goal. I think it was, might have been Yankuye here. The loanee just drove into the box, played it across, and that was a good result for us in the end. Checking our transfers, we decided to loan a lot of players out. If we're not in Europe, we don't really need that much depth. Tammy Abraham didn't really seem like someone that it would be realistic to hold on to, considering that he has been loaned out already. And we also got rid of some other players that I just didn't think would be involved that much in our career mode as well. Even some players like Bandalnzi, going on loan to bigger teams, Zaluski as well. I think it's quite a common thing in Serie A to loan players to rivals, which I always found quite an odd thing to do. But in Italy, they don't seem to really mind that much. But I definitely don't think you'd see Chelsea players going to United or vice versa on loan that often. But for us, it just felt like it was important to just keep the development going, even if this season was just sort of a filler season, and that, you know, everyone's getting game time, so we can keep improving later down the line. And I think I realised as well, Roma actually have quite a huge squad. Even Bove went out on loan as well. But I think it's all transfers that will benefit us in the future. In terms of the incomings, Mosquera was one. You can see that from Verona. I thought as a sort of relegation candidate side, I thought it'll be a realistic buy. He scored quite a lot of goals this season in real life. I thought it'd be quite a cheap option to bring in for depth. Yal Kuye from Brighton on loan. Can't say I know much about him so far, but I think it's realistic that Brighton loan out a lot of their players, and we're a team that could do with a bit more speed and a bit more skill on our side. And Kone decided to bring in, out of all the loanees that we had, I wanted him on a permanent deal, and I think in real life he has been bought on a permanent deal. And just looking from our sort of balance and transfers, it looked quite healthy, considering we hadn't got into Europe. I don't think we'd miss out on the reward money too much, considering all the transfers we'd made. In this game, we came up against Lazio, our actual rivals, and you can see from the start it was quite a tense and maybe violent game to start with. Yalkuye, again, I think you'll find this season, he felt like the main man almost at times, considering he was I think he's a 19 or 20-year-old from Brighton. Did not seem to cower from the occasion, even in these big derbies. It was pretty end-to-end, and, you know, in the end, Dovbyk, as per usual, was the one who really kicked the game off to a start. Again, was just a simple pass from Angelino, who played it across to Dovbyk. Similar to the first chance, I think it was Bobe got the ball, played it to Dovbyk, who just put it across the box to win us the derby. Checking our form halfway through the season, it was quite strong. We found ourselves all the way up in third, actually, really close to the leaders in Inter Milan. Checking our stats as well, Dovbyk had an extremely strong season, Dybala not far behind, and Yalkuye, as you can see, was a surprise sort of top player for us, really good in assists as well. Pellegrini was obviously very useful as well. Looking at our youth team as well, found a good keeper here that I thought I'd bring in. We also found ourselves in the final of the Coppa Italia, And towards the end of the season, going through simulation, we were actually first in the league as well. In the Coppa Italia final against Inter Milan, it started pretty awfully. They scored quite quickly, and although it did create some chances, the quality was just showing. We decided to put Cristante in centre back and rotate the side a bit, just to get a bit more freshness in the team. But it just didn't seem to be enough in the end, as Martinez, I believe, scored a hat-trick in the end, actually. And in our case, although we had a few headers and bits and bobs here and there, I think probably the best chance might have been here is Yalkule. Just drove with the ball, played it back, which was quite smart of him, and Angelino missed. And as you can see, Martinez scored a hat-trick. We didn't really care though, as we were first in the league with one game to go against Sassuolo. You had to wonder if Ranieri could pull it off again. Historic achievement in winning the title as he did with Leicester so many years ago. To start the highlights, we were playing quite confidently, I'd say. I don't think the team was sort of carrying away from the challenge of winning it all. And some good, just sort of triangular play here. Koenig played it through nicely to Dobvik, played it on his left to Dybala. Unfortunately was tackled, and just here there was quite a scary little chance here. We thought we might sort of be in danger here, but as normal, the defenders sort of proved their value. A good ball from Ndika here, and just playing it around. There's no rush to sort of get that goal, and I think in the end that sort of created spaces. Unfortunately, didn't take that chance as well. And as you can see here, it was very end-to-end, but in the end, Angelino opened the scoring for us. As usual, really big play for us this season. Just sort of looking at the highlights, it was, again, there was no rush to sort of get that goal. I think that's sort of how a lot of title winners and just sort of champions play, where there's no rush to sort of get the goal, but you can't get that goal from anywhere, as we sort of achieved here. Unfortunately, they did, I believe, pull it back. That didn't matter though, Sule, our young player, stepped up to get us back in the lead. I think that's quite an important goal for us, not even just for this game and the title, but just for showing that we do have players that can step up and will be important in the future. Another really great chance here that, was important is Dybala. May not have scored this chance in the end, might have been a different game if we hadn't managed to clear that off the line. But our main man didn't put it away, and in the end that was it. We won the title. Really proud achievement for Roma. Hadn't won the Serie A in quite a really long time. But you would expect a top manager like Ranieri would be the kind of guy that can bring the best out of this team. We sort of knew there was potential there, but it just depends, would that opportunity open? Big teams like Inter Milan, AC Milan with more money would usually be expected to win these sorts of titles, but that's all we needed in the end, 80 points, and I thought it was quite a realistic season. Things like this can happen all the time, so you never know, honestly. When you look at the stats as well, Dybala really stepped up the season, played quite well. Dobvik, as usual, threat for the Golden Boot again. Angelino and Pellegrini, a little bit different to last season. Were a bit better with the assists, and Svilar, quite consistent as well. Found himself in the 5th for the clean sheet tally. Just checking our stats again. It was quite similar to last season, I'd say. We just built on what we had before. I think Pellegrini was probably slightly better. Looking at our form, it was just very consistent, I'd say. We'd have months, say, where there'd be a bit more draws, but there were also, a few more months where there's just all wins, and I think if you're going to win a title, you obviously have to put together that form at some point. But I think it's just about staying calm, and hopefully we can keep some of these players on. Paredes and Chilik, we were planning to let go on a free, but Yalkuye, hopefully we could sort of keep on a bit longer. Jumping back into, I believe that this was a pre-season game for Season 3. It was a nice goal as Baldanzi played across for Dobvik. Going through our summer transfers, Dina Ebimbe I thought was quite a statement signing. Hasn't done too great for Frankfurt in real life, but 2 goals and 4 in the Europa League was quite impressive. Leone, thought quite a high potential centre-back in FIFA, someone that we could look to get in. Teze is quite, highly sought across Europe, same with De Winter. Yalkue brought in on a permanent. Evelyn and Bulat were also pretty good cheap pickups. 7 goals and 27 was quite impressive for Evelyn as well. Our starting 11 looks a little bit different than normal for this season, as Pellegrini drops a little bit further back, and we brought in those new signings, and I think it turned out well overall. Baldanzi finished off a good team goal here. As usual, Angelino was quite crucial for the build-up. Just drove with the ball, played it off nicely, and there was some good chemistry between the team, considering there was a lot of new signings. And although obviously in this case, Dolvik didn't turn out to be the main sort of man, I thought Baldanzi's finish after was quite good, and hopefully sort of be a player that could add a little bit extra something for us. It's quite a close game, this, even though it's a team that you'd expect to possibly get relegated. They had a good shot and they did score, but Dina Ebimbe for us in the end proved to be different. He sort of didn't have to stick to his position as right mid, but he just ran through and finished it quite nicely. Unluckily at the end, De Winter came on and gave away a foul, which cost us a lot in the end, as there's a good free kick in the last minute just to get it back for them, and unluckily Ndika also got injured. Looking at our sales, Hermoso had quite a bad season, I'd say. Lefebvre didn't quite fit into our team as well, and Cristante, there's slight issues with the contracts and his team role that he was sort of looking for, and so we moved them all on, and as well just loaned a lot of other players out. Pasili wasn't quite up to the standard we wanted yet. Wrench as well, not sure he was in our plans in the future, but it was better to loan him out. Starting in the Champions League, the league format, we had quite a tricky game against Sturm Graz. Not actually sure what country they are from. I want to guess Switzerland, but I feel like I'm wrong there. I expected this to be a bit of a game that we'd probably, score 4 or 5 goals ourselves, but it was immediately end to end. It was 1-1 within just 10-20 minutes. Quite a lot of the goals weren't particularly that good quality either, which was probably not a great sign for us, because you don't want to be conceding that 2-3 goals against a team of this quality. It was so hard to predict where we might finish in the table, but luckily for this game, Yal Koule came through nicely with the goal there. It was a good finish, again just knowing when to make a run into space. But yeah, again it was a lot of just side passes just to get the goals. Classic scrappy FIFA goals. Unfortunately ended 3-3 in the end. Later in around October we came up against Napoli in the league. It's quite an important game for us because I think Napoli had always been a team that, like I said, with a lot of teams in Serie A, can sort of match our form and be sort of competitive against us. Unfortunately, wasn't the best start, as it was a good header from the striker there to score, and a really unlucky bounce there as they managed to make it 2-0, and just straight after made it 3, and in the end it was 5-0, which was quite embarrassing and not what you want to see. One of the last games in the league phase for Champions League, we're up against Feyenoord. I thought we played quite well here. Dolvik had a really good finish there and that put us through nicely. The league was a slightly different story though, in 5th, but in the Champions League phase we came 7th, which was a pretty good finish in the end, automatic qualification. Also Pellegrini seemed quite important for the season compared to the previous campaigns. Around February time we played in the Super Cup final against Inter Milan again, and it was same story as the Coppa Italia final. We just couldn't match their quality in terms of finishing and just the pace they attack at as well, and in the end we had a few chances. It was just sort of scrappy headers, driving through. Luckily we did manage to get a goal there, but it wasn't enough as we lost 3-1 in the end. Getting towards the final phase, it looks a bit better as we sort of come up to 4th place in Serie A. In the Champions League quarter-final, I believe it was, we were down 2-1 in aggregate against Arsenal. It was a game that couldn't really expect to win, and luckily conceded early on, but Dolvik got a nice goal there to bring us back into the game. In terms of the balance of play, I thought we were actually deserving to win more, and for a second it looks like we really had it there. Another goal from Dolvik. He seemed to really become like a Gyökeres level striker in this season, where it just seemed like every time he was on the ball, no one could stop him almost. But unluckily, Saka got the ball here. Somehow headed it into the goal from there. Bit unrealistic, but so be it. And that was it in the end. After that Champions League upset that I thought would could affect our league form as well, we headed over to Sampdoria, where it didn't seem like we were really affected at all. It's quite simple goals from us. Dolvik with the first one there, and then Pellegrini here just got the ball from deep, drove with it and just put the ball away nicely, which is what we were sort of aiming for with that formation. The idea that you have attacking players playing a bit more deep, and if they're good on the ball, passing it, keeping it around, shouldn't be an issue. In the end, they got one back, but it was 3-1 win. We had a game towards the end of the season here against Fiorentina. Probably a team that we were sort of competing against in the region of 5th to 8th. They were thereabouts. Wasn't an awfully easy game in the end, but I thought that we probably were slightly better equipped for this match. Again, it was quite a simple goal and actually finished with a hat-trick from Dybala. Last game of the season, because of the loss to Napoli, we didn't really have a chance to bunny hop them into 4th because of the head-to-head rule, I believe, in Serie A. So we simulated against Torino. It was a 3-2 in the end, which is a decent result for us. But as you can see, it was never going to send us to Champions League football. So it would be Europa League again for us. Unfortunately, missing the golden boot again for Dovik, a bit unlucky. Pellegrini, much improved season, and Svilar, I'd also say relatively improved, all things considered. Checking the stats, Pellegrini, Dybala and Dovik look like quite elite sort of players in Europe. I think definitely if there was a good offer coming in for any of them, I would have to consider it at this point, considering that we're playing Europa League football and checking our form throughout the season. Considering we sort of finished in 5th, I didn't think we were playing at that level. I thought there were games where the quality was bad, but as you can see, most of our worst results are just in the cups, really, which you have to lose at some point. So otherwise in the league, I didn't think we really lost that many games at all. So it's 5th, runner-up in the Super Cup, and as you can see, a playoff exit in the Champions League. Also, when the sort of 4th season started, we had a lot of expiring contracts, so because of that, we decided to transfer list a lot of players that were quite key for us, including Dovik and Mancini. We decided to sort of focus on the youth a bit more as well, bringing Lovric and Thibaut in. Looking at our team as well, this was our starting 11 for the first game of the Serie A season. It was a poor start as Venezia dinged us to start with, and after that, it was just all the pressure coming from us. Close chance there. Thought Bove might be able to get the goal just to put it away, but unluckily not to be. I thought this was one of the better goals we scored in the career mode. It was proper one-touch football and a good finish from the forward there. 1-1, it was the 90th minute, and Venezia were just playing it around. That was until the player that I cannot pronounce his name, Mikhail Jet from Lyon, the strikers from Georgia, did well in the Euros. He grabbed the ball, ran all the way up, our new signing, hit the post unfortunately, making it a 1-1 draw to start the season. Checking the transfers, Alder Kiel, who's been quite good for Burnley in real life, came to us. Chaibi, top player in a Bundesliga that has really good prospects. As I said, good striker bringing in also. Abel we sent out on loan because he wasn't happy with the squad role. Also, you can see sold Mancini to Madrid of all people. And Baldanzi going to rivals. It's quite common, I guess, in sort of Serie A to Celtic rivals, I thought. Dovik to Barcelona for 80 mil, which is a great fee as well. Back in the Serie A, I'd say that our form was slightly better than last season, especially at this point of the year. It felt like there was a good chemistry with the team, and even though we had moved on to some of the other forwards that hadn't really performed for us that well, Baldanzi included, I didn't really think he was really a top scorer for us. We looked much better. It's a good move from here, good save. But in the end, it was, the lead was doubled and it was a good finish. Good chance from Juventus here, as I believe it was Vlahovic, almost headed it in. But the pressure just continued from there. Just the midfielder drove through the ball, scored. And as you can see, another good finish from I believe it was Vlahovic, and in the end was 3-2. We were 2-0 up and we'd managed to scrap the whole lead, and a dink of all things as well. It's not how you want to lose. Not a great for us. Checking the Europa League, we came up against Villa in the league phase, probably one of the harder teams we were going to face in this competition. I was slightly worried for this, but rightly so. Villa came up 1-0 against us quite quickly. It was a fast counter, and I think it's something that sometimes Italian clubs are going to sort of struggle with, sort of that pace or the intensity that some of the English clubs are going to have. We did try to come back against them, just holding on to the ball with Angelino, whipping it across, but fortunately it was just missed there. It was another good chance here. Angelino kept the ball. I thought that although we weren't really likely to win this game, I thought we sort of did manage to hold our own slightly towards the end a bit better, which was a good sign for our prospects in sort of the Europa League campaign as a total. I thought the new striker had really sort of replaced Dovic quite well, was good on the ball, and unfortunately Yalkuye missed a chance. Checking Serie A, it was pretty close by Jan, but we were 7th in the league and wasn't much better in Europa. 23rd was not what you want to see, especially for a team of our quality as well. Villa in first as well. Looking at the stats, it was quite negative for us, as Sfila didn't even feature in the top 12 keepers in Serie A, and checking assists wasn't much better either. Luckily with goals, we weren't looking at as bad. Due to our poor form by the midpoint, we decided to switch our formation to a 3-5-2 actually instead. We recalled Ablin, knowing that we could promise him a starting role as a striker alongside the other forwards. And in Europa, we were facing in the playoffs, I believe it was Vittoria. They were a team that we weren't really meant to struggle against, and having said that, still they weren't that easy to play against. But they had quite a good defence, which I know Portuguese teams are known for. And in the end, it was still pretty close, but it was a good chance here from Angelino. Just played it across, and a good finish from the striker as well. Things only became worse at half time for Vittoria as Chaibi extended the lead, and going on from there, we took the ball off the Vittoria forward. Kone drove with it. Good play from, I believe that's Dybala there. And Angelino's just got the ball there, kept going with it. And good finish from Chaibi there. In the quarterfinals, it was the same story as we managed to go past Besiktas. After all those men, I believe we had Lille in the next round. Quite a tricky team to play against, pretty high up in the French league, but good for us. It was a 2-1 lead that we had to defend in the next leg. I thought it was good play from us. I thought, again, Lille were a hard team to play against. They were pressing quite well. Their forwards were quite dangerous, but I thought that our sort of new formation with 2 up front meant that it was just a bit more direct. Unfortunately, that was our only chance that we had for probably the first half of play, really. Unfortunately, towards the end, Angel Gomez going back to a 2-2 draw, just right at the death of the game. It was pretty unlucky. I felt like we probably played a bit better until right at the end, maybe dropped back a bit too much. Good finish from a top player. Back into extra time. It was pretty close. It felt quite testy, but in the end, Sule was the one who sort of broke the deadlock for us. It was some pretty good ball from Dina Ebimbe there. Really good finish there, and we just managed to build on that in the second half as Ablin just sort of was just there for the cross. It was quite simple in the end. I thought, it was the wing play really made the difference today against quite a strong side. Leg 2 against Milan in the Coppa Italia. It was end-to-end from the start, as I noticed Milan had a lot of pace and intensity in their team. I just didn't really feel like we could compete with that level of speed, especially from the midfield, just to cover people, and before you knew it was already 1-1. Good finish there from our striker, but similar to the Europa League knockout, it was a lot of wing play, and in the end it wasn't enough as we got knocked out. We had a full-strength side against Aston Villa in our first leg for the semi-final, and it was, again, like the Lille game, 2-1 win to go into the second leg. And we switched the formation up a bit. I think we had to recognise from our group stage game that it wasn't going to be easy, and nevertheless, Madueke scored really early, probably one of the worst goals we've ever conceded on this channel. But luckily, Kone made up for it. Just later on, is even though we were playing with a much more defensive formation with a 5-3-2, it was a really good ball from Pellegrini, and really good volley there first time. From there, it was quite end-to-end, I'd say. Really close header here, thought it went in for a second, but still can't say his name, but good finish from him. Believe it might have been Yalkuye here, really good touch, and he just put it down. I think the space was always crazy because we were sitting so deep, they would overcommit. Hojlek, I believe it was, got a good finish there as well, but in the end it was just enough to get us through to the final. Checking our formation, we just had to slightly tweak what we were going for. Dina Ebimbe would go a bit more deep against Sevilla in the final. It was the Masters of the Europa League, so I wasn't confident to go in. As a fan of a club that has been beaten by Sevilla many times, I get flashbacks just from seeing them play a football game. So I wasn't overly optimistic with this, but Roma themselves, quite a hardy team. But like I said, it was traumatic from the start. Sevilla are just one of those teams that they can just make any ground into their home, even though it's a neutral stadium. And early on, we had to make a lot of changes. It felt like there was just pace and intensity that we couldn't keep up with. And even though we tried tackle and try to get the ball, it just felt like they kept winning the second balls as well. There's pretty decent play here as we rotated the ball around Yalkuye and replaced Ebimbe to get a bit more pace, and the header was saved. The stats were looking a lot better from them apart from possession by half time. Going into the second half, we were hoping to sort of make a bit more of a difference, but yeah, from the start it wasn't looking too good though. Should have conceded there, but a good save from Spilar, but 3-0 it was by around the 60th minute. This was an insane finish as well, just can't really do much about that. And yeah, by the 90th minute, 4-0 loss, historically bad probably for Europa League finals. Final game of the season we decided to just simulate as well. 3-1 loss as well, not a great result. So our final standings were, as you can see, a few teams gone down there. 6th place, not the best for us. Europa qualification again. But yeah, not too optimistic about that. Aibling had a good campaign with assists as well. I think mostly from his time playing for Juventus. And looking at the keepers, Spilar made up slightly for things after January. Checking the stats as well. The strikers were the main people in this formation again. Dybala had a good campaign, but less assists than normal. Pellegrini again, quite crucial for us. But yeah, it was very different to previous seasons where the wingers weren't contributing as much. So I think this was a good place to leave it there with the career mode. I thought it was quite a back and forth sort of career mode that we did compared to Porto and the Leeds one. It wasn't necessarily that we built up slowly through each season. So the second one was definitely our best when we won the league. After that, I felt like we made a few sales after the third season that definitely weakened us slightly. But I did feel like if we kept playing, we'd probably win more trophies, as we really could have won 2 trophies in the final season. But it was a really fun career mode, and didn't really expect the Serie A to be that fun to play in, especially with the licensing. I'd recommend to keep an eye out for my next video. It definitely will be the most ambitious and sort of in-depth career mode that I'll probably be doing on this channel. Something that I've probably been planning for over a year. So I'm really excited for that, and hopefully if you enjoy this career mode, you can subscribe and just drop a like and just keep an eye out for anything new that I drop, and also enjoy the other videos that I've already dropped. I'm trying to make a bit of variation with each video, but yeah, if you have any tips as well, just feel free to drop a comment. Alright, we'll see you next time, and thank you. Bye.